In this episode of the Texas Private School Podcast, George Anagostas and First Baptist drop the hammer against Holy Cross and Mary Hardin Baylor. Wayne Shanks and Kinkaid narrowly escape an onslaught led by Warren, Fowler, and Episcopal. Fort Worth Christian gets Midland on the ropes, but Brody Todd and Caleb Cruz lead the Ponies to a win in anticipation of the game of the year in District 1. And Phillips, Lucero, Hainish, Corwin, Pyle, and Parish Episcopal make the statement of the century. All this and more in the Week 8 recap of the Texas Private School Podcast. Hello and welcome back to the We Were Wrong podcast. I, as always, am one-third of your hosting crew, Wrong, joining you from Dallas, Texas. He was wrong and you were wrong are now joining me from College Station and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, respectively. Gentlemen, not a great week for the brand. I will say that. It was nice to learn that people actually watch some of the things that we put out, and we were reminded of that emphatically across the state. All that being said, one of the most fun weeks I've had in all of our time covering this, even with the anticipation that I might not make it out of Gloria Snyder alive. More on that later. Walker Lott, being the two men on the ground outside of the interns who didn't make picks on the episode, so therefore weren't subject to the vitriol from the opposing squads, except for Jaden. Jaden did catch a lot of flack as well. But we caught a lot of flack. All in good fun for the most part.
Right.
Your thoughts on being on site in just an insane environment everywhere in the state.
Dude, this was what it's all about. And we say it, right? Like, if we're in this position and we're saying all these things, sometimes we make bold picks like we did this past week, you have to face the music, right? You have to. You have to be the person to face it. And that's what we did this week. And it was just awesome, man. And, dude, we were close to facing the music in some other games like Episcopal Kinkaid. We were very close to facing the music there. But big win for all these teams. A shout out to a great week. We'd said going into week 8 was going to be an awesome week, and it was. And my environment was awesome. I got hit with what happened multiple times, which I think is like a 2023 meme. So
Yeah,
kind of come on, guys.
It's dead.
Got to redo
It's
it better
day
than
4.
that.
You take what you can get.
We can take what we can get. But yeah, it was awesome, man. This is what it's all about. I forgot one guy's name and it turned into a big night for him. We'll talk about that.
Paid for, by the way.
We'll talk about that more later. But honestly, this is what it's all about. This is why it's so much fun. And yeah, I think it's probably the worst week of the season just pick wise. I'll say it right now so we can talk about it a little more and Ryan can add on. I went 10-5. Ryan went 9-6 and Wes went 8-7. A awful week for us, legitimately. So, not a great day at the office for us.
You know, sometimes I've got to mix it up, go a little dramatic, and just absolutely get lambasted because of it. And honestly, that's okay because at the end of the day, it's all in good fun. Or at least I tell myself. Ryan Schroeder, from the man that didn't have to be on site, but we still made picks and we still were wrong. And I think you still might have gotten chirped a little bit. Sure. Thoughts from a wild, wild week in Texas private school ball?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely still got chirped, even if it was on the internet. But no, I mean, it was a great week. It was an incredible week. We said it on the space too. Even when I joined, I was obviously a little busy with my game, but I joined the space. I literally just was asking Walker and Wes. I'm like, so did we burn the whole house down? Did we burn down everything? I was like, what actually happened? I'm getting texts from Walker. He's like, yep, wrong. We got this one wrong as well. And I'm like, oh, dude, but that's what makes this fun. I mean, honestly, the biggest gripe we've had for so long with TXPS is just the fact that there wasn't a lot of parity. Like most of the time when going into a lot of these games, you knew what was going to happen. You knew what was going to go down. And this just proves the opposite of that. This was a great week. This was an absolutely really fun week. And honestly, probably one of my, even though we did so bad, it's probably one of my favorite weeks that we've had doing this show.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it absolutely is. Just like what you said, when you go into games and you can't accurately say for these 10 games, it's a clear winner. It makes it so much more exciting and so much more engaging, especially when we're giving the kids something to play for from a motivation standpoint, which always just blows my mind.
Oh
but
yeah.
it is.
I want to say that's awesome. Like that's when we first started this, that's what we wanted. So like keep doing it. Like that's what it's all about. Like We make the bold takes. We do all of this because y'all enjoy it. So we love that y'all do it. And shout out to the interns that were at a lot of games this week.
Yes.
Bradley was at Episcopal Kinkaid. Rhett was at Woodlands Christian Second Baptist. I think that's basically it, right? Am I missing? Brenna was at
Creighton,
Legacy Prestonwood. No, yeah, Legacy Prestonwood today or last week. So and
Creighton
then
and Whitney
Creighton
were at
and yeah,
Southwest and Grapevine. I mean,
yeah.
everywhere,
So
dude.
it was awesome. Shout out
And
to the
as we
interns.
mentioned, like the spaces are so fun now because we basically get to set it up, and then everyone just calls in and gives us
Yeah.
perspectives from boots on the ground. It's
Great.
so fun, dude. It is fantastic. All that being said, is we have a ton to recap from our 5 games of the week. But before that, we're going to give you a little bit of a look around the state of the contests that happened, courtesy of the TXPS Media Football Scoreboard, powered as always by Ryan Schroeder. The top 5 games in the left-hand column we will leave for further analysis here in a bit. But we're going to start with another game in TAPS Division 1, District 1, Prestonwood versus Frisco Legacy, where the Lions get a big 51-25 win off the back of 4 touchdowns from Luke Glass, as well as 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 from Trot O'Neill, 2 from Ian Noonenkamp, if I did not butcher that name. From a receiving standpoint, the man that we've talked about extensively, senior junior Niffen, the receiver for Prestonwood, with 3 touchdowns, 144 yards. Tyler Shaw also caught 1 touchdown, and that is the extent of the scoring for Prestonwood. That leads to an interesting spot where Prestonwood's going to play Parish this upcoming week. They get a big win over a good Legacy team, but they lost by 14 to Liberty in a game that felt like it was a more 21-28 game. All that being said, is I think Prestonwood has so much talent that it's not a foregone conclusion that Parish waxes them, but I'm not really at the liberty to say that any comment on this game, because anything I say about Parish proves to be the opposite. So I'm going to shut my mouth. All that being said, is big win for Prestonwood in this spot.
Am I next or is Ryan
We'll
next?
go
No,
you next.
you're
I
next.
am
You're
next. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, Antonian Prep loses to Houston St. Thomas 70. I'm gonna say that again. 70-20. Unbelievable game for St. Thomas. It was a great night for Pierce Jacobson. You ready for this? 13 passes, only threw the ball 13 times, 8 of 13, 196, and 4 touchdowns. On the ground, it was a great night for Miles Stewart. 13 carries, 158 yards, and a touchdown, one being 100 yards plus. Javon Waldron went 72 in a touchdown. And hey, look at this. What a night for him. He has to be our offensive player of the week. Pierce Jacobson has 5 carries, 56 yards, and 3 extra touchdowns. 7 total touchdowns for the junior quarterback. Receiving wise, Javon Waldron leads the way with 2 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown. Nate Tidwell, 2 receptions, 54 and 2 touchdowns. Ben Creech, the tight end, 38 yards and a touchdown for the sophomore. Honestly, an unbelievable night. Miles Stewart has the most total yards of anyone with 189 with kick return yards as well. We talked about Miles Stewart is kind of the guy I was really excited about seeing this year. I think he's he's 6 foot, big back, is fit, fast, physical. Like he's everything you want in the TAPS Division 1 level back, and he showed it tonight. And Pierce Jacobson finally putting it together, man. He's a good, solid quarterback. He was invited to the retreat for a reason, and he put on a show against Antonian this week. Defensively, Obina Ume had 8 tackles for 3 TFLs. Jackson Saunders leads the way tackles wise with 10. McQueen, the defensive tackle for St. Thomas, has 7 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. Another sack on the board for Obina Ume for 1. Interceptions by Jacob Quinlan and Dean Thomas, both seniors. And overall, just a great night for these guys, man. A dominant performance. And while everyone is kind of eating each other alive in TAPS Division 1 South, there is one team that's kind of just going over the top and not really worrying about all that, and that is St. Thomas. So big win for them. And holding an Antonian offense with led by Rogan Parsons to only 20 points, dang good on defense. So shout out to the Eagles.
Absolutely, Ryan Schroeder.
Next game on the slate, Central Catholic defeats St. Michael's 31-23. Uh, this was a pretty great defensive class from Central Catholic. Central Catholic had 8 TFLs on the night with 2 turnovers, it looks like, as well. But I mean, they were in the backfield almost every play. Central Catholic on the offensive side of the ball, junior quarterback Tristan Soto getting about 100 in the air and then also about 100 on the ground himself. 3 total touchdowns for Mr. Trenton Soto, as well as their running back senior Joseph Carrion. Carrion had 113 yards as well on the ground with a touchdown. So great night overall for Central Catholic. Really shut down Nico Anderson and company over at Austin St. Michael's.
Absolutely. And another game that I got wrong, Southwest Christian, Walker's alma mater, defeats Grapevine Faith 49-35. And surprise, surprise, the Trey Mosley show, 6 touchdowns, 27 carries, 287 yards for an average of 11 yards per carry. I've mentioned that on the space that I keep thinking at some point teams are going to find a way to stop Trey Mosley because it's like Southwest Christian's entire identity. And that just keeps not happening. It's just he is such an incredible talent, a true Division I player, just ripping apart defenses night in, night out. Slade Evans, also criminally underrated for Southwest, had 130 yards on the ground off of 11 carries and a touchdown to his name as well. Obviously, Faith with the offense behind Austin Cosby and rushers like Mateo Sharippa and Jace Walker got theirs. Luke Davis also notched a receiving touchdown for them. But ultimately, a Grapevine Faith team that is built for shootouts could not outshoot Trey Mosley and the Eagles. Very, very big win. That basically means Southwest is now going to secure a playoff bid where Faith essentially is kind of dead in the water in that spot. But as we see, you mentioned that all of the Division I South teams kind of eating each other alive. The same thing is kind of happening in TAP's Division II District 1. But huge win for Southwest. I know Walker Lott is very happy and sets up a good path for them moving forward.
Go Eagles. Proud of the team over there. Big win. Honestly, love to see that. Going to the next game. Brook Hill wins big over Grace Prep, 47-21. No stats for Brook Hill on the site. Cohen Jurgensen throws an interception on the night, so that might be a thing. Nothing really else to really mention. Just a big win for Brook Hill. They kind of are solidifying themselves at the number 3 spot for that district, which is beneficial for them, but not in the overall things where means they will probably have to face a Midland Christian team or a Fort Worth All Saints team in that first round of the playoffs, which is never a great thing. So, great season so far for Brook Hill. I'm excited to see how they continue, but good season nonetheless.
Next game up on the slate, Woodlands Christian defeats Cannon Tunes back at quarterback Second Baptist 42-10. Obviously, Cannon been out with injury for a couple weeks, about 3 or 4 weeks since he got injured, and so was not playing quarterback. SBS's stats is not in max preps, but of course, you know, Santiago Fernandez absolutely balled out, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, with Joshua Cox also getting 2 touchdowns on the ground. Santiago Fernandez also had 100 on the ground himself with another touchdown, so 3 total touchdowns on the night. Defense was incredible. Held obviously Second Baptist to only 10 points. Kick return touchdown for Baron Meacham. I mean, they were all over it, dude. TWCA is the new favorites, obviously down in what was Second Baptist District, 7-0 for the Warriors. They will keep cooking.
Absolutely, they will. Moving on to a game of Pantego versus Lake Country Christian. Pantego keeps on rolling this year with a 26-21 win over Timmy Wright and the Lake Country Eagles. Mr. Hayes Young, the sophomore quarterback, went 23 for 30 with 203 yards through the air with 2 touchdowns to only 1 pick. Those 2 touchdowns were tossed to junior Mason Hickman, and 2 of them went to Brady Reynolds. Excuse me, there was also a 3rd passing touchdown by Brady Reynolds as well, the receiver, who went 2 for 2 with 52 yards. I don't know what they're cooking up in Pantego. I will likely be down to see them at some point, so I'll get to see live and on site. In terms of rushing, Anthony Jackson, the senior, had 17 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown, and also to go back to Mason Hickman, the receiver, garnered 130 yards off of 9 receptions to pair with his score. Again, Pantego really looking like a big threat in Division III right now. They are 8-0, undefeated, 2-0 in district. They're going to have a big matchup versus Lubbock Christian here shortly, which I've teased that I might be on site for. A lot of good games going on, but it would be very fun to see how that materializes. Shout out to the boys from Arlington Pantego. Good season up ahead.
That's a big win for them. Shout out to Pantego, man. That's a huge win over a good Lake Country team. Moving on to the next one, Bernie Geneva beats Austin Hill Country 28-12. No stats for Geneva, so I can't really shout out any guys out there. But I want to say just the implications of this game is huge, right? Where I did this whole thing in the emergency episode, basically saying if Hill Country wins this game, they're probably the number one seed in that district, and they get an easier path, right, with the bye in the playoffs. Now that's not the case anymore. With how it looks now, where New Braunfels will be number one seed, Geneva will get that number two seed, and then Hill Country will probably get the number three seed. Oh no, Hill Country will now be the number four seed because Holy Cross will get the number three seed because I'm going to assume Hill Country loses the Holy Cross in the last week of the season. So rough day at the office for them. Geneva gets that number three spot, probably facing like a Dallas Covenant, a Dallas Shelton
Or
team.
number two, you mean, right? Geneva number two?
Yeah, Geneva's number two. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Geneva gets number two, so they'll play like a Bishop Gorman, Dallas Covenant, Dallas Shelton type of team in the round one, while New Braunfels Christian gets the bye, and Hill Country Christian probably will face a Tyler All Saints, maybe, who's looking like they're going to be that number two team in that district. So, interesting to watch. Very, very interesting. Where the District 3 usually is out of the three districts in Division 3, the lowest of talent wise, and they always usually lose round one. Some of these teams are getting easier matchups in the first round, which could get it interesting in the TAPS Division 3 playoffs.
Next game was a Saturday night matchup down what looked to be between Mercy Culture Prep and Waco Live Oak. Mercy Culture Prep, they're really showing out here. They get the win in this one, 29-9 against Waco Live Oak. We all chose Waco Live Oak. Obviously, Waco Live Oak coming into this game is 4-3. Pretty good wins. Obviously, coming off the loss last week to First Baptist. I mean, you knew that was going to happen. Getting shut out against First Baptist just happens. But Mercy Culture obviously kind of came in and told us we were wrong. Braden Raybook having 21 rushes for 224 yards.
He's a dude,
Absolute
man.
dog. Sealy had 3 touchdowns on the day as well. He had 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. And his main receiver was sophomore Walker Hughes, who had 2 of those touchdowns. Defensively, they had an interception as well. Let me make sure I get that from junior Noah Norwood. But Mercy Culture Prep trying to take that second spot in that district. So should be interesting in the north side of D4.
And we'll talk more
Absolutely.
about it. I wanted to mention that because that probably puts them in that number two spot in that district, which
Yeah.
with we'll talk more about the playoff brackets because they released last week on the next week episode. But like, it's an easier path for Mercy Culture to make the title game this year, and something to mention as weeks go on.
It's a very interesting point to look at, and we will break that down in the coming episode. But as for now, flipping to some SBC 4A ball, St. John's narrowly defeats St. Mark's 27-24. There are no stats via max preps, but at the end of the day, not super consequential in the grand scheme of SBC 4A. We already kind of have the 3-horse race between Kinkaid, Cooper, and Episcopal. St. John's has already lost to Episcopal and Cooper by big margins. St. Mark's has lost to Kinkaid and Cooper also by pretty wide margins. That being said, you got to shout out Shea Quinn, Jack Stranger, and Carson Murray for their efforts. Very, very big. And again, in a team whose identity was so built around Cole Allen, they're still making things happen this year and still a solid team. Just tough being in a division with teams like Cooper, Episcopal, Kinkaid. But shout out to the boys at St. John's.
And also shout out to St. Mark's, honestly, too. Like
Yeah.
we said this on
Yeah.
the space, and I basically mentioned them like when you're in fifth grade at St. Mark's, that's your team. Like you kind
Yeah.
of know it when you're in elementary school. That's the team when you get to high school and your varsity and your senior year. That is the squad. And so this group of guys are looking like they're a pretty solid team this year in St. Mark's. So shout out to those guys over there, man. They're fighting hard this year, and it's a very good testament to them. Trinity Valley beats Green Hill 49-31. No stats as well, max preps. But a big win for Trinity Valley when, there's not much to play for. And probably why Green Hill scored 30 of them, to be honest. But still a good win for them. Trinity Valley beats Green Hill and move on for another good week for them. So shout out to the Trojans and Matt Morrison over there.
Next game, John Cooper, ESD, absolute shootout. John Cooper scores 55 points to ESD's 31. John Cooper, man, 7-0, trekking like they know they need to. Colson Collins, 6 touchdowns on the night, 326 yards. His main receiver was senior Eric Sipko, but also had 100 yards on 7 catches to freshman Joe Norman. Shout out Joe Norman, man. He had a touchdown as well as the 7 for 138, as well as Jake Snead had two short touchdowns on the night. With that being said, as well, I mean, obviously rushing wise too, there's still touchdown by senior TD Robbins, and then defensively, actually, I want to shout this out too. Oh, I will say this. Sorry, sophomore Solomon Woods over 100 yards and a rushing touchdown as well. But defensive wise, man, shout out senior Luke Horick, bro. 2 TFLs on the night, had a sack as well, 8 total tackles, putting it down for that John Cooper defense as well. But overall, John Cooper is running with things, man. Try to be one of those 3 heads heading into the 2 hardest games of the year for them as well. They got Kinkaid and EHS right back to back. So there you go.
Yes, they do. Flipping to the lower half of the SPC, Fort Worth Country Day keeps themselves in the driver's seat for the 3A title game by defeating Houston Christian 32-20. Of course, Big Cooper Paul has a great effort, 19 for 24, 325 yards through the air with 2 touchdowns. Fox Burton, of course, got a rushing touchdown, as he always does, going for 14 for 32 on the ground. From a receiving standpoint, William Blumendahl, Kanan Factor both caught touchdowns, with Kanan Factor going for 9 receptions for 140 yards as he continues to just be a monster. Thomas Blunzerker, Fox Burton, and Major Factor all recorded tackles for loss in this contest as Country Day proving themselves to be probably the top threat in the division as they take on what is likely going to be a preview of the 3A title game when they meet Oak Ridge in Fort Worth here in one short week. Again, both these teams fantastic. I'm very excited to see to what extent that game is a preview of things to come in the title game should things shake out that way, barring any unforeseen events. That being said, I can't say enough good things about guys like Kanan Factor, guys like Fox Burton, guys like the quarterback whose name I literally just blanked on because I'm a moron, Cooper Paul. Very, very good team in Fort Worth Country Day. Going to be a fun one next week.
Absolutely. Moving on to the next game of the week. Bishop Lynch beats Nolan Catholic 55-3. From what it looks like on Twitter, Ishmael Muhammad started the game with a touchdown. Zach Williams as well. 20-7 him. Ethan Perkins gets the touchdown to make it 27-3. Ethan Perkins again 34-3. Zach Williams again 41-3. Zach Williams again 55-3, and that's basically ball game. Good win for them. You know, it's something interesting I forgot to mention, but Nolan Catholic fired their head coach a couple weeks ago, and we forgot to mention that. So just turmoil over there in West Fort Worth or East Fort Worth. Nolan will have to find the guy, and whenever they do, it's going to be a good resurgence for them, and they just have to buy into that program, like everyone else. Like Liberty's a great example of how you can turn around a program. You find the right guy, you get guys around him to bring him and want people to come to Nolan Catholic, and then success will happen. It can happen. You saw in the years past when Bowden was there, you can get guys in Nolan Catholic. It just kind of has to happen again.
Next game on the slate, Austin Regions defeats Brentwood 49-0. We all knew that was going to happen. You probably can guess what happened on the offensive side of the ball with Jack Devine, Blake Smith, Cade Millington, everything else in that area. But I'm going to tell you right now, you got to shout out Cole Nippa. Obviously, he had 3 TFLs and 2 sacks on the night as well. That's the junior over there. And then also, shout out junior Colin Angelo as well. He also had 3 TFLs on the night, and he had a block punt. So obviously, you knew you were going to win by a lot, but holding Brentwood to absolutely 0 points, that's what this defense does, bro. I mean, that's why they're going to be so lethal down the stretch as well. In district, they've let out a total of 27 points across 4 games. That's 14, 6, 7, and 0. 14, 6, 7, and 0 for those 4 games in district so far. And they'll face Grace Prep on a Saturday this week. But I'll keep it a buck with you right now. That's absolutely how you play dominant football. And if you want any chance at a state title, that's what you got to show out and do. Defense helping people to at least pretty much nothing in district.
Definitely so. In the coveted battle for the Loop 323 title, Tyler All Saints eviscerates Bishop Gorman 49 to 12 for their second straight win in the series. Gentlemen, I've mentioned that Brook Hill Grace is a superheated rivalry. These two teams also hate each other. At the end of the day, All Saints heard all the talk and said, "We don't really care. Y'all are bad. We're good. We're going to show you that on the turf." Senior Manny Miser went 6 for 7 with a touchdown on the contest. From a rushing standpoint, this game was won by senior Emerson Hadnot, who had 18 carries for, pause for breath, 233 yards and 5 touchdowns. Gonna be hard to lose when you have a Trey Mosley-esque effort from your running back. Just a fantastic season that Hadnot is having. And in one of the biggest games of the year against your biggest rival, you basically lay the hammer down and say, "You can't tackle me. We're going to win this game." Really, really big win for All Saints as they move to, well, I stall to buy for time, as they move to 5-2 on the season, 2-0 in district with McKinney Christian Shelton, and then a big game at Dallas Christian to end the season, which I might have to be on site for. All that being said is you have to shout out All Saints are having a fantastic season. They wanted us to shout out their fantastic season, and we are willingly doing so because they are one of the better teams in D3 this year. Shout out Manny Miser and company.
Absolutely. Moving on to the next game, San Antonio Christian wins big over Legacy Prep, 40-0. Well, I want to mention one thing is that looks like Ethan Young, the sophomore running back, had a great night. Ethan Young also had 64 yards receiving. He had 109 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns in total. Great nights from Ben Allen, the sophomore, as well. Asher Zimmerman, as well, the freshman. Ben Allen had a touchdown. On the defensive side, looks like Lance Mallon, the senior, had a great night, 11 tackles and 2 TFLs. James Johnson with 10 and 2 TFLs. Zach Griffin with 10 and a tackle for loss. Overall, pretty good night for them. Mason Mills, the junior, has an interception. Aaron Edmonds, the senior, has an interception. 3 forced fumbles. Jaden Arajo with 1. Spencer Hansen with 1, and Zach Griffin with 1. Honestly, great effort for them. One thing to watch, though, is we talk about San Antonio Christian kind of being the favorite in that District 3 in Division 2. One thing I didn't mention in this is that Sloan Guillory, their star quarterback, hasn't been played since the Katy St. John's game, where he went 8 of 16 for 73. He did not play in the Long Creek game last week, and he did not play in this one against Legacy Prep. Chris Kelly was the starter quarterback who went 5 of 13 for 114 and 3 interceptions. That is going to be the interesting thing to watch, where we thought might be the changing of the guard, where San Antonio Christian takes the lead here. Maybe not, and Brownsville St. Joseph might do it without Guillory there. So I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if they're just kind of resting them because he didn't need it right for a game against Legacy Prep. But district play starts up, I think, next week for this district. So very intriguing to see how that pans out.
What a crazy
district
thing.
play
District play start with you have 3 teams.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
That's just how it works.
yeah.
And a team that has more in a district that has more than 3 teams, but has so many different levels of talent. The JP2 Bowl, which we have to get a name for that. Church JP2 plays New Braunfels JP2. There is a level of difference of football in this district, dude. This is a crazy district in D3 where John Paul of Church John Paul beats New Braunfels John Paul 46-3. Both these teams probably the worst of this district in D3. But like just to show you that like that's how crazy this district is. Like the top of the top is like the Holy Crosses and NBCA and Geneva and all that kind of stuff. And then there's still this massive gap between teams in here as well. No stats, no nothing. 2 teams that are really having a pretty, all right season, but that's what happens when you play in a district like this. Still insane though. 46-3 in the JP2. If one of y'all is from JP2 as well, either one of these schools, get us a name for this game. I have to assume it has one, so let me know.
Ryan Schroeder, every time I hear Shirts JP2, that reminds me of a time several years ago when we were going to cover basketball state, to where you said, and I quote, "The only way that John Paul wins this opening round game is if John Paul II from Plano shows up and plays in their place."
That is
guess
true.
what? They won that game, and then I checked into my hotel just to find that entire team in the lobby, and that was another example of me getting, I've already said eviscerated and lampooned I don't even think that's a word for something that Ryan Schroeder said, but that's always something that makes me smile thinking of shirts. John Paul II. For our last game before we move on to our 5 big dogs of the week, Fort Worth All Saints beats TCS Lubbock. That's no surprise. The surprise is the margin by 8 points in a game that TCS Lubbock led 24-10 into the third quarter. This is a TCS Lubbock team that's gotten drilled by the other teams in this district, and All Saints is a team that we're saying not just should win it, but should be head and shoulders above the rest of their competition. Obviously, this doesn't make a lot of sense. From what we heard, there were some starters out for periods of the game. All that being said, this was a nasty, disgusting affair. I only have stats for All Saints, but Gavin Beard only threw for 164 yards, albeit for 3 touchdowns. Those 3, 2 of them went to the Colgate commit Hudson Rezor. 1 went to Gabe Starling, who only had 1 reception for 49 yards. When you only have 164 yards passing and 40 yards rushing, it's not a great recipe for success. At the end of the day, go on.
I was just gonna. I don't know if you're gonna wrap this up, but they still had 23 TFLs in the night. Bro, this is that's insane. I don't know. All Saints is insane.
That's got to be wrong. There's no way. Well, I guess actually
70.5 from Kingston Buyer. There's
that
actually
makes sense.
And 3.5 sacks. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a bad game. That's a really bad game. This is a team that's the worst in this division, in this district by a long shot. That's a terrible game. And Regents just had a 49-0 blowout. That's not what you want to see. But the defense still going crazy is insane too.
Which makes sense. And here's what I'm going to say is if I was Midland, I would be so pissed off at TCS Lubbock for doing this and waking All Saints up. Because those guys are probably going to go through the worst practice of their entire lives in the week leading up for this game. And Midland's just like, why? Who kicked the hornet's nest? Who woke the giant up? We'll see. Apparently, we're pushing false narratives on Midland already, so maybe all of that's bunk, but I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Parish Episcopal came out swinging Friday night, dominating Liberty Christian in a 56-28 win. The Panthers struck early with senior linebacker Jet Harry getting a sack to set the tone defensively for the rest of the game. Freshman quarterback Logan Lucero found Jonathan Phillips over the middle, and Phillips did the rest, outrunning defenders for that opening score. Just moments later, Liberty fumbled the ball on a kickoff to set up another Panthers touchdown. Liberty tried to respond with quarterback Quinn Murphy keeping them in the game with a few gritty runs and even a touchdown to sophomore receiver Cash McCroy. But Parish's offense was relentless. By halftime, the Panthers had built a commanding 35-7 lead. In the second half, Liberty found a brief life with an 80-yard touchdown run by Murphy and another scoring drive. But Parish had an answer every single time, with Phillips breaking loose for an 82-yard touchdown and finishing the night with over 330 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. The Panthers crushed it in a dominating 56-28 win, proving that they belong as one of the top Texas private school teams.
Anticipated TAPS D4 rivalry between Brazos Christian and CTCS, BCS would walk away with the win 42-16 in a wild victory. The scoring was started on the first play of offense as Class of 26 QB Hudson Jacobus connected with Class of 27 athlete Carson Ramsey for a 75-yard touchdown to open the play. CTCS would then rattle off 16 straight points, almost all coming the way of Ike Klimchuk as both a tight end and middle linebacker. He had 2 receiving touchdowns and had a safety. Heading into halftime, BCS was down 16-7, and heading into second half, they locked in and scored on their opening drive of the second half with a touchdown to Cade Bird. Then, due to a couple of turnovers, BCS would continue to get good field position and kept on scoring. One of the main ways they scored was with Carson Ramsey again having 2 more touchdowns in the second half, then Reed Jackson also having a rushing touchdown. And to round out the scoring, earlier in the game, Class of 27 DB Clark Paloma recovered the fumble off of a bad snap that was also forced again by Jack Williams. For CTCS, they fall to 6-1 as they await Conroe Covenant to play this week, and they will likely finish second in the district, meaning they will be on the side of the bracket of First Baptist. As for BCS, they improved to 7-0, and will be on this side of the bracket without First Baptist, meaning they'll most likely be sitting pretty at 12-0, awaiting a rematch with First Baptist at State.
This past Friday, Kinkaid traveled to go play at Episcopal in what was a really close game two top teams in the SPC ranked 1 and SPC ranked 3. Kinkaid, atop the SPC, looked to stay there, but Episcopal wanted to take them down. They took the lead early on in this game. At the end of the first, they were up 14-7, but then tied 21-21 at halftime. And then after that, I really thought Episcopal was going to win. But Kinkaid reminded me why they are the better team, ranked number 1 in the SPC with Wayne Shanks. He scored the touchdown, and Episcopal was only able to respond with a field goal, getting Kinkaid the victory 28-24 in what was a close matchup in the SPC. Kinkaid stays atop, and now Episcopal has to fight with John Cooper in what is going to be a close finish to see who makes it to the SPC for a championship. I'm Bradley Hanna, and that's all for today. We'll see you next time on Minute with the Interns.
This week in TAPS, the TWCA Warriors took on the Second Baptist Eagles and ended up taking the win 42-10 on Second Baptist's homecoming night. It was really just an offensive and defensive showcase for TWCA. Joey Orr was all over the field on the defensive side of the ball. Joshua Cox made a lot of plays from that D-line, had a few TFLs, a few sacks in there, really played incredible all night long. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Santiago Fernandez played amazing. He had 2 touchdowns through the air and then 1 75-yard touchdown run with his legs. Joshua Cox also had 2 touchdowns. So on the special team side of the ball, TWCA really performed. We saw Barron Makem with a 95-yard kickoff return touchdown on the very first play of the second half. So really just full dominance from the Woodlands Christian Warriors, as they are definitely a force to be reckoned with in Division II.
All that being said that's the TXPS Media Football Scoreboard, powered as always by Ryan Schroeder. And we will move on from that. Gentlemen, I know I've got this game scripted as the final one in the contest. I'm going to rip this first just because I can't go another second without talking about it. Liberty Christian at Parish Episcopal, as I wear the Parish hoodie, which I'll get to the backstory on in a second. I quite literally have never seen a team that pissed off in my entire life. Before the game, just the energy on the sideline was ferocious. It was Parish saying, we're going to come out and stomp the life out of you. And my God, that they did. The game kicked off with a quarterback-to-quarterback score as Logan Lucero hit Jonathan Phillips for a 50-yard touchdown. Liberty would then fumble the ensuing kickoff, and Parish would drive and score again, courtesy of Mr. Phillips on the ground. Quinn Murphy and Liberty would then drive the field as the Baylor commit would flip it to sophomore Cash McCourt to get Liberty on the board. But the Panthers would answer right back as senior Pitt State commit running back Walker, I forgot his name. Can you please remind me of that?
Marcus Hanish.
Thank you. Exploded up the middle for a 57-yard touchdown. Hillard Terry and the Panthers defense would grab another stop, and Logan Lucero would throw a ball that most seniors in the country couldn't complete to senior Michigan commit wide receiver Jalen Pyle. And at 28-7, this is when it felt like the game was over. Parish would then get the ball back, and Lucero would hit senior wide receiver Siler Cook with another ball that you have to go back and watch the tape on.
Yeah.
Throws like that make you realize that kid is going to be one of the best in the country when it's all said and done. Siler Cook, back and healthy, is also such an incredible addition to this team. If you watched him play at all at ESD, you realize that's one of the better receivers at any level of TXPS, and his presence, especially not just to take pressure off of Pyle, because I feel like that's disrespectful to Cook. He brings so much to the table and such a vital weapon out of the slot. That said, it would make it 35-7 at the half. And the worst part of all of this was that the Parish players and coaches didn't even have to focus on the game at this point. And that laser beam of chirp got directed towards the buffoon on the sidelines that emphatically picked the team in Navy. Listen, I've taken a lot of flack on high school sidelines over the last 5 years. I've made a lot of wrong picks, but I got rage baited and finally snapped on Friday. I guess I've got to credit sophomore Juolo Michael, because at first it was just, your picks suck. Yeah, man, we're often wrong. Why'd you even show up? Lots of game left, buddy. And after 20 minutes of this, I think he went, man, we got a lot of idiots here tonight. And I just looked at him and went, my brother in Christ, you have not seen the field tonight, which means by default, I lose that battle.
You lost.
Yeah. I've got to congratulate the Parish JV for rage baiting me. I'm going to see if I can find it. I got an Instagram DM, not on the podcast, on my personal account. Let me see what it says. From James Williams from Parish. He said, number 80 got you with the generational rage bait. I hate that word. It's such a Gen Alpha term, but I got baited, and I have to tip my cap to the Parish JV for that. All that being said, The second half was just an extending of the punishment for Parish Episcopal. Senior defensive end Benjamin Rich, 6'5", 230, by the way, was an absolute terror in this one. And he forced a Liberty Christian turnover on downs to start the half. But senior Baylor commit Quinn Murphy would get loose with his legs and sprint 80 yards to Pater to make it 35-14. Jonathan Phillips would assume that we were playing Simon Says, as he would also race 82 yards for a score of his own before I could even tweet out Quinn's touchdown, 42-14. Murphy would score twice on the same drive as he would scramble in after his first rushing touchdown was called back due to taunting. This, by the way, was a hilarious sequence of affairs because what Quinn did, it was like a 20-yard rushing touchdown, and he gets he's basically running to the corner of the end zone, and he's got one of the Parish guys crossing him this way, and he basically kind of fake hands him the ball and then brings it back into the end zone and scores. And remember, that's before the goal line, so it's taunting and it's called back, and the Parish sideline's going nuts. And then once Quinn realizes they're trying to call it back, he's like, I was trying to make a move. And I just couldn't know. I looked at Jaden on the sidelines and I'm like, that's a fantastic reaction to that, but I don't think the Zebras are going to buy it. They didn't buy it. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because he got in again. It was just a really funny sequence of events. That all said, where even was I? Benjamin Rich would then stamp his name on the contest again with a strip sack as he is emerging as one of the best edge rushers in the state. Phillips would garner his fourth touchdown of the evening to open the fourth. Murphy would respond by finding Cash McCourt for McCourt's second receiving touchdown. And then Lucero would hit Pyle in stride for a 40-yard strike as that would establish our final of 56-28. Oof. Here are the outtakes. No Cooper Witten. Kind of. He dressed out, came to the captain's meeting, and then did not enter the game till they were already down 28-7, played a few drives at linebacker, and did not return for the second half. Ultimately, he was battling through some sort of injury. The fact that he even got himself on the field while playing through some significant pain is very telling of the kind of athlete he is. It looked like he was a break glass in case of emergency setting. For me, to be honest with you, again, I'm not smart enough to coach at the high school level, but in a game where ultimately the result doesn't matter too much because likely these two teams are going to meet at state, I don't know why Cooper's on the field at all, even risking re-aggravating that, especially once you're already down by that much. All that being said, ultimately didn't matter, but seeing him will himself onto the field was very impressive and is telling of the player that he is. Wide receiver Lincoln McCamey also did not see the field, and you take him and Cooper out of the equation, and those are Murphy's two best receiving targets, and their presence was notably missed here this evening. I don't know if they account for 28 points, but I don't think Liberty came out with very much energy at all, and the Parish players picked up on this, and they commented on it in the postgame. Corell Buckhalter Jr., after going crazy last week, only had 12 rushes for 45 yards. For the Liberty receivers, nobody went over 100. Quinn did rush for 170 yards, which is kind of telling that in the event that really just all the receivers were getting locked for the most part, Quinn's good enough that he's going to find ways to make plays. But ultimately, I think that played into Parish's hands because if you look at Liberty, you're like, if they're going to have to win the game by making Quinn scramble, we're going to live with that game plan. And they did, and ultimately it paid off for them. But still a really impressive effort on the ground for Quinn Murphy. Ultimately, this will not be the last time these teams face off this season. And if both are healthy, I doubt it's a massacre either way. But as of now, it's Parish in the driver's seat. As I wear the Parish hoodie, I'll tell the story one more time. I'm on the track pregame, just watching, getting really nasty glares from a lot of Parish players. And one of the Parish kids, he's like, hey, Wes, we left you a present over there just to remember who we are. And I go over and I just kind of look on the ground, and it's the Parish 5 straight 2019 through 2023 state champion hoodie. And I just kind of laughed. I was like, that's good. And I assumed it was one of the cheer or dance teams hoodies on the ground. I was like, that's a good gag. And I'm up in the post game, mixing it up, getting headshots and stuff after the game. And he comes back to me and he's like, hey, I'm not kidding. This is yours. And I was like, I will wear this on the post game just as an admittance of idiocracy on my end and a salute to a Parish team that we wrote off much too quickly that is right now in the driver's seat for TAPS Division I. Walker Lott, there's a lot we were wrong on in this contest, but any specific direction you want to go in a great win for Parish.
Yeah, this is, unbelievable. Did not see this coming at all, but if you're from Dallas right now, you absolutely saw this. This is a beatdown in every way, every sense of the word, every sense of the phrase. I wanted to mention one thing, and then we can move on to Ryan. Is that I got some heat, which was well deserved, and I wanted to mention everything I said and see what was I right about, what was I wrong about. Right, that's what it's all about. You make the picks, can you back it up? Right. The first thing I said was, is the Parish front going to hold against Witten, Etta, Terry, Violi, etc.? That will be the key. Yes, they did massively. They looked very, very good in this one. I said, I think this game is going to be a coin flip. Dead wrong about that. Absolutely incorrect, loud, incorrect buzzer on that one. I think we're going to watch Jalen Pyle do Jalen Pyle things and dominate in this one. I was correct about that. Pyle went off in this one. The Michigan man is legit. If Lucero wins this, he will go into the record books and be one of those guys like Stone and Anderson. Was right about that one. I agree, Wes. Some of those throws he makes, you don't see that often from a freshman. Legitimately, I think he's going to be one of the best in the country. And you've seen the offers roll in. Man, he is going to be that type of player, man. I think it's Novikov lucky again, man. He's got a third one that is just as good, maybe even better than the other two. The one
eighth grade home
knock on both Stone and Anderson was the size, right? They just weren't the prototypical size you need for a quarterback. That's what Lucero has, plus the arm like the other two have. Another 4 years in this system of Novikov, I don't even want to know how good this kid's going to be at the end of those 4 years. That's how good this kid can be. Another thing, I talked about the culture about Liberty, and I said Liberty breaks you down before they even get to the field. Now, that was dead wrong. Not even close. They came out, it looked soft and just not prepared. And yes, they lose a lot of targets, but man, they hit you in the mouth and didn't look back. Quinn Murphy will be a key one here. Was right about that. Quinn Murphy had to be the guy to win them this game, and he just couldn't do it enough in this one. But great player and great game. Siler Cook being back is huge. Was correct about that. Siler Cook is just a difference maker as the receiving coach. So shout out to him being back. I did say Novikov has been in his offense for the whole offseason working on this one, saying this is where I get my get back. I was right about that one, man. This was a masterclass in coaching on both sides of the ball. Having that defensive coordinator back is huge, or this new defensive coordinator is huge in this one. And Novikov offensively just was perfection in play calling. And the final thing, I said, can Coral Buckhalter outmatch this senior committed to Pitt State, the Gorillas?
God.
Wrong, 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 so wrong in every sense of the word. Incorrect buzzer. Insane. Absolutely, I know that kid is Marcus.
He was the MVP of our retreat.
I know. And it's funny because I remember where he went to college, but I didn't remember the name in the 30 seconds I talked about him. But
Which
Marcus
is more
Hanish,
impressive.
right, I know. But Marcus Hanish is legit, man. He is one of the best. Yes, he won our running back MVP. We've talked about him. If you go back to the previews and all the episodes, we talked about how good this back is. I think he can go for 2,000 this year, 1,500 at least this year. He's that good of a player. But I'm glad I didn't say his name. And the fact that it pissed him off enough to where he dominated. He told me to shut up, and I said, understandable. That was awesome. I love that. And I'm glad I didn't remember his name in that moment because you saw how good this back can be, and he's a special player. And so, am I going to mention him now and say his name when he deserves his flowers? Absolutely. Marcus Hanish is that kid, and you saw it tonight or Friday. But I'm glad I didn't that night because it made it for a lot more fun for Wes Tolleson. Wes, I apologize for not remembering his name for you, but in this incident, I'm glad I didn't remember his name. And will I now? Abso-freaking-lutely.
Another funny story regarding that. I know I said it on the space. I don't think I've said it on the episode yet. Whenever I'm coming back down the sideline, I think it's a drive after Marcus had that 50-yard score. Coach Jordan Swinford looked at me and said, "You better learn Five's name." And I look at him. I'm like, it's Marcus Hanish. I'm not dumb. I said it's Marcus Hanish. I didn't say I'm not dumb because I already didn't think I was getting out of Gloria Snyder alive. But I'm like, why are they saying that? Why was he so mad after he scored? And I'm like, oh my God, somebody forgot his name on our episode. And I immediately call Walker and I'm like, did you forget Marcus's name on the episode? And to which Walker was like, oh yeah, I did. I said he was committed to Pitt State and I couldn't draw the name in the moment. And I was like, you're going to get me killed here. all that being said, I survived, and the fact that people, like I said, listen to what we put out and use it as a motivating factor is honestly the biggest compliment to us. I'm grateful that people do that. It's everything that we wanted when we started. That said, Ryan Schroeder, just an insane contest in Parish. That even the Parish guys said, "Yeah, we thought we were going to win, but this was a lopsided margin." Your thoughts and outtakes from this one?
Both you and Walker just hit so many things. There's nothing I can really say. I have to hit the point was the opposite of Walker Lott. Walker Lott said Jalen Pyle was going to play very well. I may or may not have said some things on the other side of that, being that Jalen Pyle really doesn't go over 100 yards against Jason Witten's teams. But to that was probably in some aspect or another because of Jalen Hawkins and Brady Janusek and those guys of the past. And I will say Lincoln McCamey and Cooper Witten being out also doesn't help, especially defensive wise. Cooper Witten, obviously is a presence, more than a presence on the defensive side of the ball. And then McCamey is just another absolute target for Murphy. But with all that being said, yeah, I mean, that's a bad take by me on the Pyle thing. I've said, I don't know why I keep saying things about Pyle. Like I obviously know he's very good. I know he's very, very good. But for some reason, I keep saying really stupid stuff on this episode. So with all that being said, Jalen Pyle can outdo Jason Witten's defense. So all that being said, just know I was wrong about Jalen Pyle, which shouldn't be a shock. If I say anything bad about Jalen Pyle, probably means he's going to do well, just so everybody here on the program knows.
That's a good point.
Yeah, 6 receptions, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pretty good night at the office.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'll work.
He now leads taps receiving by a good margin now, almost 100 yards.
That was the other dumb thing I said too. When you're like, well, I don't think Jalen Pyle is going to be at the top of the receiving charge when we're guessing who's the highest receiving yards in taps, and I go, well, who's not going to be there? Jalen Pyle. Walker goes, no, he's number 2.
Yeah.
By the way, going back to that, I know this is off topic, but remember the Ryan Schroeder kid from El Dorado, and we were like, who the heck is that kid? Yeah, he's like a 4-star running back committed to Arizona State. And he's not even a private school player, but they have him in there. I just thought that was funny.
Sure, why not? That makes sense. But no, I mean, it's just an incredible performance by Liberty. I've got nothing else to say here. But Walker, now we're going to flip to the game where you got to get lambasted, Brazos Christian, Central Texas.
Yeah. In a game that was hyped up as the biggest game in Division 4 this year by us, it lived well up to the hype. I want to first give a shout out to Central Texas. I mean, the environment was absolutely rocking. What they do is because it's a Division 4 game, on the sidelines, there's the giant stands that everyone sits in, and then there's just lawn chairs of people on the sideline of the home team on the side, and it's
beautiful.
So cool. I think that's awesome.
That's D4. That is D4.
It's everything you want in a Division 4 game. You have bands in Division 4, so shout out to bands. I wanted to make something a hot take. I need funding of bands in private school more, because I covered a lot of games for the public school sectors for TexAgs, and the one thing I miss is a good band. Like, adds more action to the game.
Hey, you want to know who actually has a good band? Is my school. My school was a very good band. We won state championship after state championship.
Grace's drumline is better than Legacy's band, and I will die on that hill.
We have like 40 people, so you're definitely wrong. We have so many people.
Grace has like a 10-time defending state champion drumline. It's all in the drums.
I'm not gonna lie, it might be like cheerleading. I'm pretty sure everyone wins because there's only 4 teams per district or whatever the heck it is. But fair. That's neither here nor there.
Anyways. I fund the bands. I need a tuba out there with some blaring, some awesome music. That's all I wanted to say on that. But anyways, back to this game, where it was a game of 2 halves, right? In the first half, it was pretty much all Central Texas, but started strong for Brazos with a screen by Hudson Jacobus to Carson Ramsey, who takes it 76 yards at the house to set the tone. But Klimchuk had other plans and gets a pass from Cooper Smith on the play action to tie it up 7-7. And then in the second quarter sets the tone once again and obliterates the offensive line for the safety to make it 9-7. Dude, he is legit, man. We talk about a lot about George Anastas, which absolutely deserves. He's right there with him. He is terrifying to play against. If I was a Division 4 kid, he is true 6'3", is all over the place, bigger than everyone else on the field, and plays like it. And he's athletic, dude. Some of the sticks he did in this game. Dude, it was disgusting, man. Going to the next thing, then a second touchdown hits Belton by Klimchuk again, who reaches out and grabs it by his fingertips on the quick pitch by Smith over the middle to make it 16-7 at half. Then a halftime happens, and the switch is flipped. BCS drives down the field, and a pass from Jacobus to Cade Bird on a slant finds the end zone to make it 16-14. Then chaos ensures, and let's show it in points. Number 1, 3-and-out for Central Texas. Number 2, Brazos drives. Carson Ramsey dominates, and it's a deep ball from Jacobus to Ramsey for a touchdown, 21-16. Bad snap, big hit by Jack Williams, picks up by Clark Palomo. Brazos Christian scores, 28-16. Interception by the Eagles by freshman Davis Wall. Reed Jackson stiff arm, 50-yard score, touchdown, 35-16. Interception for the Eagles once again by sophomore Landon Sains. Again, Carson Ramsey times 3, mesh route near the pylon in the end zone for the score, 42-16. I've never seen a momentum shift like that. We'll talk about it in a second. You could have heard a pin drop on that CTS sideline after the big hit. And on the BCS sideline, it was truly like we were in a club in Miami going crazy, man. It was live up on that sideline, and it was a lot of fun, man. The band was going, the band traveled, the student section traveled, the mascot was going crazy. All the parents had the bells. Like, it was awesome, man. It was really, really fun. It was a true momentum shift like I've never seen before. Credit to this Brazos Christian team for capitalizing on it. They were more physical, more dominant, and the more big plays for this team. Also, credit to this coaching staff for making for Brazos Christian for making the second half adjustments. Man, this offense looked totally different in that second half. Stats wise, Hudson Jacobus puts it together this week, and it really has all season, but really shows everything he could be this week. Going 14 of 19, 280 and 4 touchdowns. Carson Ramsey dominates, 8 catches, 154 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It looks like the best player on the field. My D4 newcomer of the year as of right now. I don't think anyone comes close right now. Micah Sachs, the senior, proved to be an all-state player in this one. 4 catches, 71 yards, and pretty much all of those catches were tough ones and looked great on defense as well. 27 linebacker Ty Urban dominates with 14 tackles, 2 TFLs, and 27 linebacker Jack Williams goes off for 11 tackles, 1 TFL, and a forced fumble. For Central Texas Christian, Austin Evans is everything as advertised for 28 carries, 147 yards. Man, his balance when he runs is truly insane. And when the ball is snapped, he seems like he's shot out of a cannon when he gets the ball, man. He is accelerated, he's fast. There's times where he hits one guy. All right, he keeps going. He hits another guy, and he's like almost stumbling, like he's almost parallel, but his feet are still moving because his balance is that insane to get 3-4 extra yards. He's a great back. He's definitely a Saturday level player. Man, he's a good player. The biggest player of them for sure was Ike Klimchuk, though. 6 catches, 71 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and then 11 tackles, 3 TFLs, and a sack on defense, plus the safety. He's just bigger than everyone else. He's a tight end on one side and just the difference maker on the other side. Great player. I think he's a Saturday player as well, easily. Excited to see where he ends up. In the end, Brazos Christian flipped the script on Ryan's take of CTS by 2 scores and dominates the Lions, proving it's a new era in the D4 South. Now we should see Brazos and Waco in a couple weeks, and CTS now will see the Death Star that is First Baptist in the semifinals. Very interesting matchup, man. It was funny because we were talking afterwards, and everyone Brazos Christian was like, we expected this. This is what we expected, right? And we knew we were going to win this one, and they backed it up, man. They were more physical. They were more tough. And this was another game going into the topic of like, people read what we say. It was there. It was in the locker room. It was before the game. They had it on the speaker supposedly in the locker room, just playing it on loop from what we said. Article was one thing to mention. The article was read of the Austin Evans versus Sean O'Reilly article of like, how did they differ on the matchup? That was read. Truly, they wanted the smoke, and they saw the disrespect we gave them this week, and it was not good for Central Texas, man. Another team that was just pissed off and wanted to show this is a new era in TAPS Division 4. So shout out to Brazos Christian, a huge win. They looked great, man. They got weapons all over the field. We didn't even mention guys like Hunter Black as well in the defensive line, or Reed Jackson a little bit, who had a great night as well. When it was like 8 in the box for Central Texas, so he really couldn't get the run game going until that fourth quarter. Man, they're a good team, man. Every sense of the word. Central Texas is a solid team as well. It's just I've never seen a momentum shift. It's like they died. It's like the power, just the batteries were taken out in that late third, and they just could not respond. So big win for Brazos Christian.
No, that's wild. Again, you hit everything very well. The main thing that sticks out to me is not even just Micah sacks on the offensive side of the ball. As you mentioned, 8 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss from a DB. Again, I played DB. I think I had like 2 tackles for loss in my career. Getting 3 tackles for loss, getting your nose dirty, but especially against a team in Central Texas that's as run heavy. And you're basically like everyone's in the box because everyone on their team's in the box. You're gonna have 2 corners out, and then the other 9 guys are stuffing the run. Really, really impressive. Ty Urban with 2 tackles for loss, Hunter Black with 1, Brumskill with 1, and then Jack Williams with 1. Just again, and the main thing is I highlight that defensive effort because remember, this is a Central Texas team that was averaging over 50 points per game. They scored 16. They essentially scored twice in this game. With a team that how much that that Jordan Black has these guys in the weight room. I remember I was just getting myself more familiar with Carson Ramsey in the lead up to this episode, and I started scrolling through his Twitter. The dude's deadlifting like 5 plates or 500 straight bar. That is the Jordan Black effect. I think any situation, and I think there was part of me that thought that with a team as grinding and as run heavy as Central Texas Christian, that Brazos Christian might be out toughed in this contest. It makes me wince to even say that because you remember Jordan Black's leading this team. There's no team in the state that's going to out tough Brazos Christian. That was solidified here tonight, and I've never been more happy to be wrong, I guess.
Shout out to the
Ryan Schroeder.
979.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan Schroeder.
Yeah. I mean, should I like apologize again? Like, is this just what I'm gonna do? I should apologize.
I think
again.
you need to
Apologize again. Like, I'm sorry I had faith in our intern, bro. I'm sorry I had faith.
Come on.
No, like, bro, like he still went for 147. He still had 29 carries. Like,
Ryan,
what do you want me to say?
Take your licks.
Okay, all right, cool. I'll be done. If you want an honest answer though, I asked Wes and Walker this before the show started as well. If they were somehow to face off against each other again, which it's not possible, but like if they were, I genuinely think this game could shift a different direction the next time they do it. Like I'm telling you, like obviously Brazos doesn't want me to hear that. It doesn't want me to say that, and I'll probably hear that at state when Brazos obviously ends up seeing First Baptist, and they'll be like, "Well, you still didn't think we're gonna be here? You still didn't think we're gonna be here?" But all that being said, like I don't know. I really thought Central Texas was like putting BTA on everyone they played this year. Both these teams were undefeated coming in this game too. Like obviously, there's a lot of talent. Coach Black has done really, really well at Brazos Christian so far, and Hudson Jacobus is a baller, just like everyone else on this team.
He's a daggum tank, dude. He is huge.
Dude, gosh, man. I can't say this, dude.
He's like that. He's like, who's the quarterback for BYU?
Oh, Bear?
Yeah, he's like Bear for D4. Like there's no one else and he can throw too. He's not just like I think we need to make Jacobus wear 40.
It's oh my gosh.
47,
it's like him.
I think,
it's like him, Jonah Williamson at Colleyville Covenant, and it's what's his name at Country Day.
Cooper Paul.
Those 3 got
dude, we've got some massive.
That's perfect.
We've got some massive quarterbacks in the lower divisions of TXPS. That's a ball knowers pick.
That's a good one. But honestly, like those. By the way, we'll end this, and Ryan, Wes, you can move on from here. Is like these two teams can compete with Division III teams easily. You saw it where Central Texas beat Brentwood by a good amount of margin. I think Brazos Christian could do the same, man. These guys are legit this year. And I'm very excited to see how, we'll see realignment change this year. There's guys that are there's a good 6'1" to 6'2" average on a couple of guys this year. They look bigger. Like these teams are bigger than just a typical Division IV team that we've seen in years past. So these teams are legit, man. I would have them winning games in Division III, Division II here and there. Like they're solid teams, man. Shout out to those teams.
Shout out, fly, Eagles, fly. That being said, we're going to move forward and keep 1 foot in Division 4. 1 foot moves up to Division 3 for Holy Cross versus First Baptist. My sweet God. I knew I liked First Baptist in this one, but this was unexpected. First Baptist weed whacks Holy Cross to the tune of 34-7. Going off of stats, Dylan Jones had 4 passing touchdowns, 1 to Antonio Cobb, 1 to Tucker Brown, 1 to George Anagostas, who does everything apparently, and 1 to Lincoln Schleif. George Anagostas also had a rushing touchdown on the contest. Taylor Flores also had a rushing touchdown for Holy Cross late in the 4th. First Baptist absolutely dominated this game on all fronts. It harkens back to my challenge to find a weakness on their team because this year there is not one. If they're doing this to one of the 3 best teams in Division 3, I know we just ranted and raved about Brazos Christian. I'll go 10 toes down. It's wraps for everyone in D4. It's over. I know that Brazos Christian actually wants to hear that. Livorno and First Baptist don't want me to say that. It's finito. It's just insane. Walker, I go back to your reference of the Death Star, and it makes me laugh because I imagine just like Livorno is Emperor Palpatine, D-Rob is Darth Vader, and they're just like turning the thing, and the beam is slowly but surely angling towards a certain team, whoever's going to make it to state. And we'll see if that gets fired off or if Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and company can challenge them.
There is a small
that's all
in the Death Star. You know,
there is one singular. I think it's a vent or an alley or something. But
yeah.
As Wes Tolleson said one time, get out of here with that weeb-ish. Whatever.
That only Star Trek is weebish.
Yeah.
I think Star Wars is pretty accepted ball knowledge, which
you.
I have very limited of. That being said, obviously, I'm going to address the elephant in that this is the first game Holy Cross is playing without Mike Harrison and Roy Salas coaching, but not the first contest without the in-ear helmet communication device. Regardless, even at full strength, those things do not make up for this deficit. This was a 34-0 game late into the contest. Just an absolute curb stomping on all fronts. Walker Lott, George Anagostas again has his paws all over this game with a receiving touchdown, with a rushing touchdown. I don't have defensive stats, but he was everywhere there as well, I am sure. I don't know how much this says about Holy Cross because, again, you can't say, well, this is the first time they don't have the in-ear thing. They didn't have it against Hill Country. They did fine. I don't know how much this says in the grand scheme of things. I personally do still think they're one of the best 3 teams in Division 3. I think it maybe makes you realize, okay, they're probably not on DC or Lubbock Christian level. But for First Baptist, it undoubtedly shows that they are the best team in D4 at this point in time, as we all knew.
Yeah.
Any other takeaways you got from this one?
Yeah, so the game was in Belton, like 5 minutes away from me, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, if it's like the 4th quarter just started, I might go by there and check out the game before I head home. And I turned on the game in the live stream, and I saw Lincoln Schleif like moss a kid and then run into the end zone. I said, all right, never mind. By that point, it was also 33-0 or like 28-0. So I went, okay, that's ball game. But seriously, I said this game was going to be 21 plus for First Baptist. Like I thought it was going to be a blowout. It was. It's because of multiple things that First Baptist got better in pretty much every capacity. They lose Mark Rayson. That's their big loss, yes. But everything else pretty much improved. But Holy Cross lost so much big-time talent. They lost Patrick Ortiz, Nick Hall, Isaiah Jackson Rice to the DB spot. That kind of locked down Caleb Mitchell on the outside, which was a huge loss for them. So, like, when you don't have Caleb Mitchell kind of going, you see the result of it, right? On the flip side, they didn't have Jose Lerma. They didn't have Sam Valenzuela on the defensive end to kind of stop the run. It's just like they're big, yes, but they don't have the stars that they did last year, and I kind of expected that to happen. So big win for them. First Baptist is a solid team. No, not even solid, great team. We're trying to do the overall rankings with the top 10 hasn't changed, but like I don't know how far out of 10 First Baptist would be, but they're not far out. They're not top. They're top 15, right?
I was just about to address.
You go in. Yeah.
Just about to address that. That's what I was gonna probably question y'all with. It was what I was gonna do. But guys, they would defeat almost majority of D2. They would defeat majority of D2, and I don't think anyone's saying that. When I say majority,
listen, they barely squeaked past Grace. I don't think Grace would beat the majority of D2.
That game doesn't make sense. I'm taking that game out of this contention because it really makes no sense. How
That's
are
a
you putting
Thursday.
40? How are you putting
Yeah.
48 up on Bishop Lynch and you barely squeak by Grace Community?
Grace isn't bad. They just got lambasted by Brook Hill because Etheridge went out.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, First Baptist could beat Nolan, obviously. First Baptist could probably beat TCA, in my opinion, as well. First Baptist could beat majority of the South teams, in my opinion, in D1. What's to say they can't beat the rest of D2 as well?
So here's the thing. At the moment, we've got Brook Hill at number 10. First Baptist barely lost to Grace. Brook Hill destroyed Grace. Now, granted, the quarterback is the difference there.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, we'll see. I
But
really
I would
don't
say
know.
this, that Bishop Lynch is in the top 15, right? And they're probably like St. Thomas is 10 of or overall rankings. Bishop Lynch is probably 11 or 12 right outside of it.
Yeah.
I think First Baptist is in the top 15, maybe at that 15 spot, which
I-
for a Division 4 team is dang impressive.
That's insane. That's insane. Okay, this is a call out to Coach Lavorne specifically. Book D2 and D1 teams for non-conference next year. I want it.
He
I want it
did.
so bad. More. I just want more. Like I
More.
don't.
How
Another
many more?
Okay, bro. I'm
More
sorry. The Covenants. Don't do it for me, bro. You beat them both by like 30.
Here's the thing to me is like I like a mix of that. I like a couple of them, but at a certain point, like I think they can still compete. But like at a certain point, if you're playing so many bigger teams like 5 straight weeks, and you get like in a situation where,
Yeah.
am I going to get my guys injured doing this? And do
Yeah,
I need to win in
you're
D4?
right.
I understand the point. There's just a balance for sure.
I like the Bishop Lynch
I kind
level.
of forget it.
Do one
Yeah,
or two of
you're
those a year, and I think
Like
that's a lot of fun.
TCA next year, like a TCA next year, probably.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
it's
that would
probably
be
a
a lot
home.
of
It's
fun.
probably a home and home though, so they'll probably come to them. But
Anyways,
yeah,
we like them
whatever.
scheduling top teams because they are a
I
top
do.
team in
I
TAPS
do.
and in TXPS.
Also, I love Holy Cross First Baptist. I think that's a great tradition. I don't know if that'll continue next year, but
Right.
I would love to continue that. That's a really cool random tradition.
No, I think it is for sure. But that being said, the outtake here is that First Baptist is still really good at football. Really, really crazy take. All that
Real.
being said, we will now move to the upper division in the Southwest Preparatory Conference in a massive rivalry game between Kinkaid and Episcopal. Got to shout out Bradley Hanna for the coverage. Just a fantastic breakdown of this one. Pre-game, mid-game, and post-game coverage. Truly our lead intern. Wayne Shanks does Wayne Shanks things. That's the recap. The junior standout would start this one after being stopped 3 straight tries out of the Wildcat with a 70-yard burst on 4th down to open up the scoring at 6-0. But junior running back Brooks Allen and the Knights would respond with a sustained drive, making it 7-6 Episcopal. 2 of the best underclassmen in the conference would then strike as sophomore quarterback Donovan Warren would hit sophomore wide receiver Reed Fowler to push the Knights ahead 14-6 as it began to appear as if we got another contest horribly wrong. But Ross Wynn and Thomas Smith care deeply about the integrity of TXPS media and would respond with a pitch and catch to tie this one up at 14. Wayne Shanks would then take another snap out of the Wildcat for a 70-yard score in which it's so effortless that it looks like he is jogging. 21-14 Kinkaid. Donovan Warren would then find the freshman Noah Williams on the run with an incredible toss and reception to even us up at 21 apiece. We would then go through the third quarter scoreless until a minute left as Episcopal nailed a field goal to go up 24-21. Wayne Shanks and Kinkaid would then power in with 7.5 minutes remaining in the fourth to take the first lead since the first quarter, 28-24. Kinkaid would get the ball back, but, quote, the meanest man on the planet, as described by Bradley Hanna, Mad Morgan, would pile drive Ross Wynn for the TFL to force a punt. But ultimately, Kinkaid would turn Episcopal over on downs, and this chapter of the rivalry would close in a 28-24 victory for Kinkaid. Walker Lott, we talk about the 3-horse race for the top of Division 1, District 1 a lot. We have also significantly for SPC 4A in the first contest between teams of Kinkaid, Episcopal, and John Cooper. Kinkaid gets a narrow victory over Episcopal, to which we didn't downplay Episcopal so much this year. We had them third in the conference, I think, coming in. But there was a decent amount of people that said with the amount that Episcopal lost that it was going to be difficult to even field a competitive team in SBC 4A. Evidently, that's incorrect, as Donovan Ward and Reed Fowler are incredible talents. You add in guys like Tyler Williams, Madden Morgan, Deacon Morgan. They have the talent to compete with anyone. That is my takeaway from this game in a contest that's so narrow. I think they've got the chops to play in the title game, but now they have got to beat Cooper to make that happen. Your thoughts on a very close game down in Houston?
Dude, it's just such a great rivalry for year after year, and it's another great one in the history books of this rivalry. Sometimes just the best player makes the plays, and you saw it with Wayne, man. It's just having a guy like that on the sideline is just so impressive. But I got to give all the credit to Bel Air Episcopal and this team. What Coach Monahan is doing there is impressive. Like, he's legit, and he's getting them into a team where you had so many question marks about this Bel Air Episcopal team going into this year, and they're pretty much answering them all week after week, right? So you got to give them credit for there. Jeremy Eddington, the offensive coordinator for Bel Air Episcopal, did a great job against this, EHS or Kinkaid defense, which is a hard task to kind of unravel and decipher. This is not going to be. We're going to see how good Cooper is next week, and hint, hint, I will be at that game against Kinkaid. That's going to be the test of, okay, how good is Cooper truly, right? They have the talent. On paper, these three teams don't look that far different from each other. In one of the matchups, you saw it. How can the third point of that triangle, show how good can they be, right? So if Cooper doesn't live up to the hype, we're going to see this matchup again at probably University of Houston Stadium, TD ECU Stadium, I believe. So, which would be a lot of fun. So, and like we always say, it's hard to beat a team twice.
It absolutely is. Ryan Schroeder, Kinkaid gets a narrow win over Episcopal. Your thoughts on this contest?
I may have been wrong, but I told everyone that Wayne Shanks is evolving week over week. I'm telling you, he has been balling, bro. Ever since the game, I guess it was September 19th. Ever since that game, week over week, he's had more rushing yards, over 100 yards. 121, 163, 192, 222. Oh, yeah, 222, and they're going to play EHS. No way he has more than 222. 263 yards from Wayne Shanks against Episcopal. Another 3 touchdowns. That now puts him up to 24 on the year, which, by the way, for those who are counting at home, that's first SBC and TAPS, with the next 2 guys being Trey Mosley and Austin Evans. And in total yards, he's now at, I think the math would be around 13, maybe even 14 something. 1,400 total yards. That would put him almost 100 and something yards over Trey Mosley and another 100, almost 200 yards over Austin Evans. So
dude, that's crazy that we're talking about the statistical insanity that Trey Mosley's putting up, and Wayne Shanks is outdoing it on all fronts.
It's mind-boggling. Like, and another thing I'll say about Trey Mosley, though, is like, he's not a pass catcher, right? He doesn't catch passes. He hasn't caught a single one the entire year, I think, if I have this right in front of me. So, like, that is what is working for a guy like Wayne Shanks, who obviously has 297 yards receiving, and 5 touchdowns. Because just rushing wise, it'd be close, but Wayne Shanks is just such a dog, bro. And I think that goes back to say entirely what we've said. The Cole Allens of the world, the Marcus Ramon Edwards, now the Austin Evans, the Trey Mosleys, the Wayne Shanks. These guys change games, bro. And I'm telling you, Wayne Shanks is killing it. Obviously started out the year pretty slow with 3 games under 100 yards and hasn't looked back since, bro. He's been an absolute dog. He won this game against EHS for them. Shout out Ross Wynn, shout out company, but Wayne Shanks is a dog over Kinkaid.
Absolutely true. That's going to be a fun contest to watch, especially next week as we see Cooper take on EHS. Moving on to the final game that we're going to cover, Fort Worth Christian at Midland Christian. Got to shout out Oscar Leroy and the Midland Reporter Telegram for the source on this one. This was another danger spot for us as Fort Worth Christian went up 14-3 behind 2 quick passing touchdowns from senior standout Landon Gigliotta. However, Brady Young would peel off a 17-yard touchdown score to cut the deficit to 4 points. Jackson Franco would call his own number and scramble in for a 9-yard score to make it 17-14 Stangs. Evan Rosencrans would nail a 45-yard field goal, Ryan Schroeder, to even us at 17 going into the half. Jarrett Stockstill will make his return to action following a collarbone injury earlier in the season, reeling in a 30-yard score from Franco to give Midland a 24-17 lead. Caleb Cruz would then introduce himself to the Cardinals with a 15-yard rushing score to extend the Pony lead to 14 with 6.5 remaining. Kason Anding would respond with a 40-yard rush for his second touchdown of the night, but it would prove too little too late as Midland would defend home field with a 31-24 W. Caleb Cruz also had a 49-yard interception return. Stacey Jones came up with a fumble, and the Mustangs had several fourth down stops. Franco passed for 157 yards, rushed for 76, and he also had a pair of touchdowns on the evening. 4 Mustangs rushed for at least 71 yards, led by Brody Todd, who had 113 on 14 carries. Coy Hayes added 81 yards, while also playing linebacker, and Caleb Cruz added 71 yards on the ground as well as a touchdown. And now, all eyes turn to West Fort Worth as the challenger for All Saints has been selected out of the group of contenders. And my God, that's going to be a fun one as Midland takes the long drive east. Walker Lott, a game that, as I mentioned, was another danger spot to us as Fort Worth Christian went up quickly, but it appears that Midland had the chops to hold them off, basically take the punches and say, nope, still our turf. We're still the top dogs outside of All Saints in this division, and we're going to win this one. Your thoughts on this contest and what it means for a big matchup with the Saints in a short week?
I think it's a testament to this Midland Christian team of how versatile they can win games, right? Where against Cornerstone, it was a lot of passing by Franco in the last couple of minutes, big plays to make it to win the game, right? Defensively, they're always going to be solid, right? You saw it again tonight, but they have so many weapons and the run game tonight was just so effective. So shout out to them. Where they didn't have to really rely on Franco all the time to make the plays, right? Where Cruz and Brody and Coy Hayes and Brady Young were making plays.
Isaiah Matthews.
Yeah, it's just so many guys that can make plays on this team, and that's what's terrifying. Fort Worth Christian's still a solid team. They just get a harder track to the championship now because of this loss. The interesting part is, of course, Tucker Rashford went out with injury in this one. If he's not 100% versus SES, is that going to be interesting? Where could SES cause some chaos? I don't know. I'm going to guess not, but still, Fort Worth Christian is a solid team. They have a lot of talent to go, and they still haven't played All Saints just yet, right? Right? Yes.
No.
Right. So they still haven't played All Saints. If that game is close in a couple weeks, and they have to play them in the semifinals or something like that, that's where it gets a little bit more interesting. Very excited to see how that all continues.
I think so. Ryan Schroeder in a game that we thought would be close, but almost got a little bit dicey there, especially in the middle of the contest. Midland holds off the onslaught from Fort Worth. Your thoughts on this one?
So I had Fort Worth Christian in this game. I'm not mad about it at all. 14-3 starts the game, even it being tied up in the third quarter as well. I'm not mad at all. I actually like my pick a lot. I do think factors like Tucker Ashford going out. Who else went out, did you say? Didn't Tucker go out and someone else went out too? Or did someone not play? You said on the space.
I forget who.
They have multiple guys not playing to what they thought they were going to have. With all that being said, I'm not mad at my pick for Fort Worth Christian. I think Fort Worth Christian going all the way out to Midland too and only losing by a touchdown with what was happening in that game, I'm really not mad. Obviously, Caleb Cruz did Caleb Cruz things. He had an interception and a forced fumble, by the way, which is so insane. But like Walker said, there's guys all over the field on that Midland defense. I don't have much more to say. I just will say, honestly, out of all the games that have happened that I got wrong this past week, I really am not that upset about this game. I thought Fort Worth Christian played extremely well. And in a fully healthy scenario, I mean, this game could have gone either way. And if it was played again, I bet it's 5. I bet 5 times Fort Worth Christian wins, 5 times Midland Christian wins. This is a very, very equal matchup.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It was a great game. It's two teams that also don't like each other very much, so it's fun to see district rivals go bar for bar, basically, and ultimately someone has to win, and this edition of the contest that happened to be the Ponies from Midland. But gentlemen, with that all being said, that actually concludes the content that we have for this episode, the slate of the year up to this point, and my goodness, was it a fun week. Yet again, we'll be back in your feed, barring any emergency episodes, which I don't see for this week, but you never know in TXPS. We'll be back in your feed late Thursday to preview all the Friday games. Going to be another fantastic week of Texas private school football. But as always, I have been 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder have fantastically been themselves. We will see you in the next episode. See you later.